This is Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. From the corporate office to the cab of a truck, they're here to inspire and empower women in all professions. So gear down, sit back, and enjoy.
Welcome to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. We're a show that works to inspire and empower women in every profession and lifestyle, including the office, trucking, the trades, and even motherhood. We tackle all kinds of topics, and we work to encourage women to be their very best with informative guests and women who've been champions. I'm Shelley.
And I'm Kathy.
No topic is taboo on our rig. We tackle the tough topics along with the not-so-tough topics. And we like to feature experts and celebrities who can assist women in being the best they can be. There's not a person on earth who doesn't want to be healthy, happy, fulfilled, and fit at any age. Fighting aging is something we all want to do. Too many times being fit and fulfilled are things people never attain, but it is attainable. It's a matter of getting the correct information. Dr. Lynn Anderson is a naturopath and yoga therapist who's authored many books and has been featured in major publications like Reader's Digest, Shape, Self, Spry, The Chicago Times, Huffington Post, Thrive Global, and Redbook. She was featured as one of the hottest fitness professionals over 50 in Spry magazine. Dr. Lynn has made guest appearances on several CBS and NBC TV shows, as well as cable and podcasts, and she's been a guest speaker at various venues nationwide. She's the creator and producer of Dr. Lynn's anti-aging workouts for everybody with international distribution. And she's also the author of How to Prosper with a Purpose and How to Master Vitality. Dr. Lynn has helped thousands of people, and we wanted to learn more from this amazing woman. She's with us today to share her knowledge. Welcome, Dr. Lynn. Thank you for being with us.
Well, welcome. I'm glad to be here with you, Shelley, and you, Kathy. This is exciting.
Quite the resume. You're quite impressive.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. You're amazing.
Well, girls, now I'll have to give this away. I did turn 70 this year, so you have to realize I've been at this for almost 40 years.
You do not look 70 at all.
Dang.
Okay, we want to know secrets here.
The secret is diet, exercise, and sleep. That is the secret to be able to live a balanced life. And that's, really, I walk my talk. And I really, what I do teach and what I do write about and lecture about is exactly what I do in my life.
I think a lot of people try dieting and exercise. They hear all of those concepts, but they don't get the kind of results you do. I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about yourself and what you do and what is your secret. There's got to be a special recipe.
Well, I'll tell you that the real secret is that I have a very positive attitude. And that's really where it all begins. I'm a very energetic person, and I must say that I love people, and I love, I get up in the day and I think, oh my God, isn't life wonderful? That's kind of how I look at things. And, there are things in my life that perhaps something will make me will be unhappy. People will say, well, are you unhappy? And I'll say, well, I'm unhappy with the situation, but Lynn, am not an unhappy person. And that's really part of the key.
Have you always been that way?
Pretty much always that way. I grew up on a small island off the coast of Maine in a very rural fishing village. And, people didn't have a lot of money. There were people who didn't have indoor plumbing. It was a really tough upbringing. But we always had plenty to do. We always had plenty of wonderful things. I had a lot of freedom as a child. I could run all over the island barefoot and enjoy myself. So I think that was part of what always made me have this positive feel about life.
Nature does that, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Oh, just from living in Redondo Beach every day when I'm walking on my feet in the ocean. That's it. I don't even need to swim. Just walking. Yesterday, I walked for about 3 miles one way down. I walked to the grocery store and walking back. That's a total of 6 miles. That just the feet in the ocean does wonders for my whole mental health.
Well, nature provides everything that we need.
Yep.
And nature says to us, you've got the sunlight. We evolved under
Yep.
natural light. We evolved eating local foods and foods when they were, ripe and in season. We evolved as a moving species. And what do we do today? We eat processed food. We're under artificial lighting and we don't move.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
We're all you can't fight Mother Nature. You really can't. She'll win.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. She's got a wicked sense of humor.
She does.
Yeah, when you think about it, and in my neighborhood, I see kids who aren't always outside.
Mhm,
I just like, what are they doing? When I was
mhm,
little, I couldn't wait to get outside. I was raised in Michigan. So, I mean, I loved it when it was warm. Not
mhm.
so much a fan of snow. To me, that's a four-letter word. But, you wanted to get outside and just stretch. And I mean, I had my own imaginary world, the whole thing. It felt so harmonious. You lose that as an adult.
Yeah, I was going to say, Shelley, that's a really interesting thing that you said because I, of course, had an imaginary world. We all did. I think, especially people of my generation, the baby boomers, and we didn't have phones. We didn't have computers.
Yeah.
We had to make up our games. And I think that's really healthy for children to have that outdoor experience and to use their imagination to create things. I think that that's one thing that really it is important to really make sure that children have that.
Hmm. Well, I personally think that helped me in what I do for a living today, because I didn't have a lot of kids to play with. So I had to entertain myself. And I learned a lot, I guess, about myself. And I was developing as a human being. And of course, there was a cat that came around. We lived on what had been a farm. It was not farmed when I was a child, but there was this cat, and I taught it to jump through a hula hoop. you know and then the cat had kittens, and I remember trying to baptize one of the kittens. That was interesting, very interesting. Needless to say, that didn't go so well. But stuff like that, just the antics of childhood.
Yep, it's very, very, very important. Childhood is a very important time, and it's very important that parents support children growing through that process. I'm very fortunate. I have three wonderful, beautiful grandchildren, and I'm very close and connected to all of them. And that's the other thing, it's important to have grandparents that are involved as well, because they can always add so much to help parents out.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Lynn, what are the principles? You mentioned three of them that are really kind of the key to vitality and youth and feeling fulfilled and being healthy. Maybe if you could walk us through this and what you do.
Well, as a naturopath, our focus is prevention over cure. There's a big difference there. We would rather not get sick. We'd rather not have to deal with the cure because that's not a good place to go. So a naturopath looks at things of what can we do to prevent? How can we take the natural sciences, which is diet, exercise, sleep, light, color, aromatherapy, herbology, we'll go on and on and on, but all the natural sciences, and how can we create a balanced environment, both internally and externally for a human being? And we know that diet, what we take into our body, what we feed it is directly what we become. If we feed our body all of the nutrients and things that it needs, it's going to operate on the way it should be operating. But we also have to, as I said earlier, we evolved as a species moving. And if you think about, early humans, I mean, they were on the move all the time. And
Sure.
so it's important to be able to move. But we also have that other element in there, which is called sleep. And sleep is a nutrient. And we need sleep to rebuild and rejuvenate and regenerate the body, the brain, all of that. We need that as much as we need the food that we take in. And interestingly, there's a study that came out somewhere, and it said that about 70% of US adults suffer from some kind of sleep disorder. That's huge.
Yeah, it
You know
is.
what? That I believe that because at work, I was doing a study. No, remember when we were talking with that sleep doctor,
Yes,
Shelley?
yes.
We were
Uh-huh.
talking about sleep apnea, and he was saying there's a research study that because heavy equipment operators are one of the highest I said occupations that have sleep apnea. And my work coworkers, it's amazing how many people have those machines, right? They have sleep disorders. Mind you, we do a lot of day shifts and night shifts and rotations, and people aren't sleeping, and it's they're stressed. But there's quite a few. I'd say there's a really high percentage that use that sleep apnea machine.
Yeah. Well, you also alluded to, shift work and,
Yeah.
changing. And if you're working a night shift, everything's upside down. It's like with
Yeah.
little babies, when little babies are born, sometimes they get their days and nights mixed up,
Sure.
and people do that too. And so it's really the real key to everything is creating balance. Because if you have perfect balance, body, mind, and soul, you have perfect health. Nothing's out of balance, but it's getting to that balanced place. And, we live in a very chaotic and stressful world. So it's very difficult sometimes for people to come back and really focus on creating that balance in their life.
And I think people really have been searching for that after the pandemic. It got so crazy. I think people were like, what's going on? I'm not in balance.
Yes. I mean, most people, because, there's also, who do you trust anymore? That's another factor that comes in, because people don't trust their government. They don't trust their doctors. They don't know who to trust. And that's a really important thing for people to feel, that they can trust someone, that they can trust something, that something will help them to create a better world for themselves. And if you take that away, you create a lot of stress, and that stress can lead, of course, to burnout.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Dean Michael, the tax doctor here. I have one question for you. Do you want to stop worrying about the IRS? If the answer is yes, then look no further. I've been around for years. I've helped countless people across the country, and my success rate speaks for itself. So now you know where to find good, honest help with your tax problems. What are you waiting for? If you owe more than $10,000 to the IRS or haven't filed in years, call me now at 888-557-4020 or go to mytaxhelpmd.com for a free consultation and get your life back.
Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry. Our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
Being healthy, happy, and youthful is something we all want but don't always attain. There is a way, and Dr. Lynn Anderson is letting us in on the secrets. Finding serenity, in addition to a good diet and lots of sleep, are essential. Sleep is actually a nutrient to the body. Too many people suffer from sleep deprivation today. Dr. Lynn has been featured in Reader's Digest, Shape, Self, Spry, The Chicago Times, Huffington Post, Thrive Global, and Redbook. Dr. Lynn was honored as one of the hottest fitness professionals over 50 in Spry magazine, and she's the creator and producer of Dr. Lynn's anti-aging workouts for everybody. She helps people achieve balance. Dr. Lynn, how do we achieve balance?
Again, we go back as a naturopath. When I'm working with people, we go right back to what's called the 3 pillars of health. That's diet, exercise, and sleep. So we look at those 3 things. But also as a naturopath, we believe that it's body, mind, and soul. So if we look at the body and how to bring the body back to balance, we know that we can do that through nutrition, through exercise, and sleep. But we have to look behind the curtain and what's going on in the person's life. Because I know lots of people who look very well in shape. I lived in Los Angeles for 30 years where all the beautiful people live. And you would see, I would have clients come in and they would be just gorgeous in shape and everything. But behind the curtain, they were suffering terribly. There were all kinds of mental things going on and stress in their life. So we look at that and then we go back and we also look at the soul. And the soul is not something that a naturopath sees as hoo-hoo. The soul is your essence. It is the essence of who you are. And we all have an essence. We all have a presence, which is unique to each and every one of us. So if we can balance those three things out, you got it made.
That's the trick. I don't think a lot of people know how to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, it comes back to being able to, and I always tell people, if you're going to work with someone who is qualified, work with someone who really understands what you're going through and is not trying to keep you, but is trying to raise you up and create an independence where you can go independently on your own, because which kind of goes counter to business, because you're supposed to keep your clients. But I've always felt that if I could take someone and I could work with them and then I could get them off and independent on their own, then I've done my job. And that's what's really important.
So when someone comes to you, what exactly do you do? Do you find out what their needs are, what's going on in their life, and kind of give them a roadmap, if you will?
Mm-hmm. Well, most people who come to me come about diet. That's a big thing. I want to lose weight, or I want to have, I want this or that, so they really primarily come looking for the magic bullet, or the quick fix. And the first thing I tell them is it doesn't exist. I don't have it. I don't have a magic wand, and this is going to take a process. So we do an intake, and in the intake I ask specific questions that tell me what is going on in this person's lifestyle, because people aren't always forthcoming. They won't sit down and say, I eat junk every night. They'll tell you the opposite. Oh, I don't eat junk. I eat a healthy diet. And then you'll look at them and you go, now this person is a good 20 pounds overweight. They're not sleeping well. They're depressed. I don't think they're getting the nutrients that they need. I don't think they're, and so then we kind of work through those different things. Because again, as I said, it's not just about the body, it's about the mind, and it's also about the soul.
Now, you do a lot of yoga. Would you say that that is actually a form of exercise that all people really need to achieve some of the things you're talking about?
Yoga is a great exercise for balance and flexibility and for breathing. Yoga is wonderful, and I am a yoga therapist. But yoga is more than just an exercise. As I always tell my students, if you come here just to do the physical part, you're doing calisthenics. I don't teach calisthenics. What I teach is karma yoga. So karma yoga is I bring a lesson every time that I teach, and we interweave that lesson throughout the physical part of what we're doing. So for example, it might be the lesson is about self-discipline. And so we look at what is self-discipline? What does it take to discipline yourselves? And then I implement it throughout the class so that when a person leaves, they're leaving more than just with a physical feeling better.
That's huge. Now, in terms of karma, I think people think of karma as, well, karma's going to get you. I'm not sure people know what karma always is.
Well, karma, people always ask this. And karma, we have the pop culture definition of karma, good karma, bad karma. That's not karma. Karma doesn't adhere to judgment, because good and bad is judgment. So it's not about judgment. Karma is about the energy that you have here on this earth. You come as an essence, as a soul. And according to karma, you take on this body and this mind. You have chosen, you've picked this life because this is the best opportunity for you to work through whatever the piece of karma you have to work through. And we look at what are the reoccurring things that keep coming up in someone's life. A good example of that would be is one of the great passions that karma teaches us that we all have to deal with when we come here is anger. But some people have to deal with it more than other people. And if you look through that person's life, if there's all these anger things that keep coming up, people and situations where this anger keeps coming up in them, that's a message saying, get it. Once you control your anger, once you come back, then it dissipates. Because if you don't engage in it anymore.
Interesting. You have to wonder how many people really truly know themselves so that they can achieve that sort of goal. It sounds like you bring people around to see who they are.
Yes, that's really what it is. I tell people, sometimes people think, you've got all this magic. And I say, no, I'm a facilitator. It's coming through me and I'm facilitating. I'm putting this information out there. You can do with it what you want. I'm the teacher and I'm giving you the information. I'm showing you where to look, but I'm not telling you what to see. You have to see that yourself. And that's the work of karma.
But the fact that people are reaching out to you, number one, says to me that they're ready and willing and open for change, right? Because otherwise they wouldn't be reaching out to you.
You're absolutely right, Kathy, because, some people, I mean, you can encounter people that'll go, oh, that yoga thing, that's so foo-foo. I'm not, they're just not ready for that. Or they'll come to my class and I will tell you that I've been doing this for a long, long time, and there's no ego involved here, but every time I teach and someone walks in who's a new person, they will come up to me afterwards and say, I have never, ever been to a yoga class like this. I can't believe it. And they, and sometimes they break down crying because there's something that I said that I brought to the class that connected with them. And they will say, how did you know what I needed today? And it's like, well, I didn't know. I don't know you, but this is the lesson. And what they say is, when the student's ready, the teacher appears.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. I know personally, I only started yoga when COVID hit because at work we were confined to our rooms. We were only allowed outside the room to get to work and back in immediately. And so we live in camp in this tiny, tiny little room. There's only room for the bed, there's room for your bag, and then there's the bathroom. That's it. So I decided, well, may as well start yoga. So I did. And at first I'm thinking, oh my God, like it is hard. For anybody said that yoga is not hard, it is hard. And like, I am no graceful swan. I can tell you that. I've been doing it off and on for 2 years, and I still tip over, and I still wonder, how the heck did they do that?
Well, I tell my students, and believe me, I've been at it for years too. I mean, I've not reached that place yet, but I tell my students it's called practice, practice, practice. And just when you think you've got it, practice some more. That's right. Yoga. It's practice.
But what I found it's done for me in my mental health is it's transformed it. It does something for the body, but it does something to the mind, and there's no words to describe what it has done for me. And when I'm in that that space where I'm just focused on the next pose and next on, okay, the stretch, and especially because I sit in equipment for 13 hours a day, the yoga is tremendously helpful for me.
Yes, it is. And, if we step back from all the science and the philosophical part of yoga, and we look just at the poses that we do, everything in there is designed to keep us young, to keep us moving, balance, strength, flexibility, especially people who are sitting a lot. It's important because balance, for example, we start to lose our sense of balance around age 30. Wow. And then it goes.
I could tell that because I still don't have any. I'm constantly tipping over.
Right. And, when you reach your senior years, it's really important that you have worked that through the process and that you're continuing to work that. That's the biggest reason people fall and have hip fractures when they get old, is because they've lost their balance. And even though we will, as we get older, we do physically, we change and your balance does change. You can use a chair to do yoga. There are lots of different tools, blocks, and things you can use. What's important is that you keep moving, keep breathing, keep relaxing and letting go of stress, because stress is the number one problem we have.
Isn't that the truth?
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Trucking Moves America Forward, or TMAF, is building a positive image of trucking by telling the story of the hardworking drivers and industry professionals who support the industry. And you can be a part of it. Learn more about TMAF and how you can join and be a part of the industry movement working to build a strong image of trucking by visiting TMAF's website at truckingmovesamerica.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our latest channel, TikTok.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro.
You need to feed your body and your mind to stay young and vital and healthy. This includes changing your mindset, your diet, and getting the sleep you need. You need to create balance in body, mind, and soul in spite of the chaos of today's world. The 3 pillars of health are also essential. We're learning a lot about this from Dr. Lynn Anderson. She's a nationally known naturopath and yoga therapist who's been talking about karma yoga that's extremely beneficial to keep your youth, vitality, and flexibility. We lose flexibility throughout life, and this is how to keep it. Dr. Lynn, you've really enlightened us in this area. You know, it's really kind of interesting. I don't think people realize how they do lose flexibility and mobility. I remember in my case having that aha moment. It's been a while back. I decided to go to a playground and play on the monkey bars. I was amazed that I did that as a child. It's like, how'd I do that?
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. I mean, you can lose your sense of it. Well, I'll have students who will go away on vacation for a couple of weeks and they'll come back and they'll go, "Oh my God, Dr. Lynn, I can't believe how much I've lost in 2 weeks." And they jump right back, but you really begin in 30 days, you can lose all the progress that you've made in 6 months if you just let it go.
I noticed that. I do. Yep. Because sometimes I'm not always consistent. I'm very consistent when I'm at work because it's a very set routine schedule and it's like that for 14 days straight. It's when I come back on days off, I got 10,000 things on the go. I'm traveling, I'm doing this and that. So I don't always incorporate my exercise routine like I should. So then I get back to work 2 weeks later and I do my yoga thing and I'm like, oh my God, like how could I have lost that in 2 weeks? Right? I could just feel the stretch. I'm like, ooh, just wait a minute. Right? It's so true.
So true. Yeah, you feel it. And I mean myself, if I go on vacation, I usually do something every day because I know the importance of it, but it's, I'm not teaching. So it's very different when you come back and you're teaching a lot of classes because you're physically working all the time. But it's important. Again, as I said, we evolved. We have to put that in our mind. We evolved as a moving species. Just move. That's important.
Just move.
Yeah, get up and move. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. You snooze, you lose, and if you don't use it, you lose it, right?
That's right. That's right.
And people are so exhausted by the end of the day, they just kind of fall out on the couch, which is probably the worst thing they could be doing.
And that, at work, there's 2 types of workers. There's 170 of us, and there's a very small percentage that after working your 13 hours in that piece of equipment and the stress is high and you're being rattled and thrown and you got 10,000 things on the go. It's highly, highly dangerous job. So most people after work, because we get back to camp at 7:00 at night, they'll go straight to the dining room. They'll load up their plate with like a whack load of food. Then they'll go straight to bed. And there's a very small percentage of us that instead of going to the dining room, we go straight to the gym. And then we'll work that frustration out for an hour and then just, go to the lunchroom and not the dining room, prepare our lunch and then go to bed, go to your room and, make your phone calls and that. So, but it's the motivation of trying to set your mind. No, Kathy, don't, you've been in this equipment for 13 hours. You got up twice because we're sitting literally for 13 hours. And you need to go get moving. I mean, I'm 54, so I push myself to go, but it's so easy to just say, oh, I'm tired, I had a rough day and blah, 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 right? Make all your excuses. So I think the challenge is really self-talking your way to get yourself moving.
Well, it's that, and it's also, if you need the motivation of a friend or a coworker or a teacher, if I don't see some of my students for a while, I'll send them an email, just a nice email. Hi, how you doing? Making sure everything's okay. And they love it because I check up on them, and then they're like, oh, okay, Dr. Lynn, I'm coming back to class, because they know that I care and that I'm there and I want them to come back and they're motivated to come back.
And
because
having that workout partner really is, it holds accountability,
right?
We do that at work. At work, I have a specific friend. We've been friends for 10 years and we'll make a point of showing up together, right? Because otherwise he'll be texting me, hey, where are you? Right?
Yeah. So, and those are good friends to have.
Yeah.
Yep. So, Dr. Lynn, for people who have never done any of this, can they reverse some of the bad habits, some of the terrible effects they've had on their body and actually look like you? Gosh, you are just a wonderful example of all of these principles. Can people reverse some of these bad effects, ill effects of stress and poor eating and a lack of exercise so they really can feel their best throughout life?
There's a yes and a no to that. Yes,
Okay.
you can sit down and you can, at any point in your life, you can make that turn, and you are going to enhance your life a million times over if you really go down that healthy path. But it's more of looking at where are you going each decade of your life. What I did in my 20s determined where I was in my 30s, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And when I say to people, and people say to me, oh my God, you look great. What's your secret? I say, I've been doing this my whole life. I didn't start yesterday. I've been
Right.
eating healthy. I've
Yep.
been exercising. Now, do I have the occasional dessert? Yes, I do. Do I have a glass of wine? Yes, I do. Do I go on vacation? But everything is done in moderation. I have a glass of wine. I don't drink the bottle of wine. If I have dessert, I split it with my husband. So it's not about giving up all the pleasures, because, as I like to say, we are hardwired for pleasure. That is part of human
Yep.
dopamine. It's up there. Serotonin.
Yeah.
That is, we are hardwired for pleasure. And the seeking of pleasure is what drives innovation. It drives creativity. It drives art. It's a wonderful thing. It's just we take pleasure too far to the extreme. And that's when we're out of balance. And now I come right back to that word again, is keeping everything in balance. So yes, people can, at any age, they can stop and they can start to implement a healthy lifestyle, and it will make tremendous changes in their life. If they have done damage to their body that is really, let's say someone has been a really heavy drinker, and they've damaged their liver. There are certain things that we can do to kind of help that, but I can't reverse all of that.
So, what is a healthy diet? I guess they've heard a lot of different things, and there's so many different theories, and I think people get confused.
The one I always fall back to, because it's so easy, is the Mediterranean diet. I mean, if you look at Mediterranean diet and you look at the chart and you go in it, it's mostly fish and vegetables and fruits and really healthy foods. There's no place on the chart that says processed food. There's nothing
Yeah.
in there. And so the Mediterranean diet is really probably the best diet to follow, because if you follow that, you're going to be getting the nutrients. And that's the whole key. It's not about the food that you put in. It's what food is going to give you the fuel that your body needs to operate, to rebuild, rejuvenate. And that comes from the vitamins and minerals that we take in. So it behooves you to take the vitamins and minerals in, and then eat all the junk you want after that.
Now, what about supplements, vitamin supplements? Because I hear quite often that today's food doesn't have the nutrient that it used to 40, 50 years ago.
Well, part of that would be if you're getting food that has been shipped across country, and it's not even ripened on the tree, and it's shipped across, because we are supposed to eat local. We're supposed to eat in season. That's what nature does. Nature says, here it is, it's all here. This is how you do it. But we don't really live that way. Now, supplements, and I'm not an advocate of supplements. Supplements, they do not have to prove efficacy. And what that means is they're not FDA regulated, so they don't have to prove they work. That's the first place to begin. They did a study years ago of 14 major supplements, and they found basically junk in all of them. Fillers, all kinds of stuff. Nature has this thing called synergistic effect. That means that when you take a piece of fruit, it has all kinds of vitamins and minerals in there, and they're meant to work together, not separately. So a good example would be calcium. Calcium can't do its job unless it has the coenzyme magnesium with it. That's what pushes calcium to do its job. So if we take calcium and we make it in a chemical form and put it in our body, first, we're putting a chemical in, and second, we're not doing what nature has said we should do, bring everything together.
Yeah, all of those elements are super important. And when you look at the body, the way it's able to take in all of these different nutrients and utilize it, it is miraculous. And how harmonious the body can be when you give it what it needs.
That's correct. The body, well, there's a new hypothesis out, and it's why we overeat. And the hypothesis is the protein hypothesis. And what this means, and it really works with minerals and stuff. And basically what it means is if your body needs so much protein every day, it needs a certain amount of protein in order to operate effectively and efficiently. Now, the body doesn't say to you, oh, okay, I want my protein, go get my protein, bring it in. The body sits there and waits for it. And what we do is, let's say we eat all this trashy food and we're not putting the protein in, the body keeps giving you these hunger signals because it's saying, please, please, you haven't given me what I need. And that's true of vitamins and minerals. And the hypothesis is that this may be why we have a tendency to overeat. And if we just supplied the body with what it needed, maybe we wouldn't overeat. It's still a hypothesis, but still, it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we're nothing but an amino acid when you think about it, which is protein. And would that also be why people have sugar cravings? Because the body's saying, I need energy. Give me what I need. So people go grab a candy bar.
Exactly. And what the body's really saying is, I need some complex carbohydrates in here because I need my zinc, I need my, B vitamins, I need my vitamin C, I need all of these vitamins and nutrients that I get from complex carbohydrates, from proteins, from the good fats. And you're not giving me any of these. So I'm going to keep crying out for it. Because I can't operate if you don't. And eventually I'm going to break down.
So true. We want to unpack more of that information, but we do have to go to break. Don't go away.
Stay tuned for more of Women Road Warriors coming up.
Kathy DeCaro is nothing short of amazing. She not only drives the world's biggest truck as a heavy equipment operator in northern Alberta, Canada. She's an international motivational speaker and the author of Dream Big, an autobiography about overcoming a lifetime of trauma and abuse that led to dreams of success. Kathy inspires people the world over to change their lives and improve their self-worth. Her book will change your life. She's passionate about personal growth and believes anyone can change their circumstances and overcome their obstacles if they believe in themselves. Her life will amaze you and seriously inspire you. Be sure to order a copy of her book, Dream Big, on Amazon.com. Industry movement Trucking Moves America Forward is telling the story of the industry, our safety champions, the women of trucking, independent contractors, the next generation of truckers, and more. Help us promote the best of our industry. Share your story and what you love about trucking. Share images of a moment you're proud of. And join us on social media. Learn more at truckingmovesamerica.com.
Welcome back to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy DeCaro.
There's more to yoga than you think, and it can be done at any age with beneficial effects. Karma yoga is a great form of yoga that helps us achieve health, happiness, and vitality. You'll learn self-discipline, serenity, relaxation, and a focused mindset. You also learn how to purge that anger that circumvents any attempts you're trying to make to improve your health. Part of improving your health is also giving your body the protein that it needs. Dr. Lynn Anderson helps facilitate all of this change in her clients, and she's giving us some of the fundamentals. So, Dr. Lynn, what kind of protein does the body need? What should we be eating?
Probably the best source of protein, and this is if you're not a vegan or a vegetarian, is fatty fish, because you get your omega-3 with the fatty fish, which is good for your heart, it's good for your brain, it's good for your, really good for your body. So that's a really good source. I mean, always, lean meat, chicken, and then nuts and legumes if you're a vegetarian or a vegan. But those are all, really easy to get your protein allotment.
Cheese, dairy products, are those
Yeah.
good or bad? Because I know that there's some diets they're saying, oh, stay away from dairy products. And
cheese is another good source of protein, and cheese has a lot of minerals and things that you need, calcium, all of that stuff in it. But again, it comes back to, are you eating Velveeta? Velveeta is not cheese.
Yeah.
That's not cheese, folks. But if you're eating, I just came back from, I was in Spain and I was in Menorca, and Menorca is known for its cheese, and it makes this specific cheese, Spanish cheese, and it's absolutely delicious. And the interesting part of it is, as they were explaining to me, it's all in what we feed the cows. And it tastes different because they have a special clover that they feed to the cows that
wow.
make the cheese have this interesting flavor to it. And I never really thought about, well, gee, it's all the milk and everything. It depends upon what you're feeding the cows.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, they say we are what we eat, obviously. So are the cows.
Exactly, So, but I think if you're looking at, the more you go to process, the less you're going away from nature.
Okay.
And nature is not going to, nature will eventually knock you on the head. You're going to get sick.
Yeah.
That it's funny you say that, because after 51 years of eating, whatever I wanted to eat, 3 years ago it hit me really hard. I developed a severe allergy to gluten. And just randomly, like it started, I would eat something at work and I'd immediately throw up. And then I thought, okay, well, maybe it's just camp food, or, it's bad food, because I was eating basically whatever I wanted. And then a lot of processed, a lot of breads, a lot of, and my system just shut down. And it got to the point where I was 8 times in the hospital in 2021 for gluten. I'd have one bite or one little piece of whatever, and I'd be in the hospital. And it got to the point where I couldn't even, like, it's down to vanilla in pancakes sent me to the hospital. One time Shelly and I were on the interview and I said, oh God, I said, I got to go to the bathroom. Oh, I never made it back to the interview. I had to call an ambulance. It's like terrible from vanilla. And so, it's funny how, and now people think, oh my God, because gluten is in everything. Well, to me, I see it as the biggest blessing on the planet, because it made me reevaluate everything that I'm putting into my body, because it starts with the food that you eat. So now, well, I removed all meat from my diet. I'm basically vegan because I can't handle dairy anymore either. So that was a big thing. And so now everything that I've noticed such a change in how I felt since I removed so many toxins and so many unhealthy things. And now everything that I put in my body, I have no choice but to make sure that it's healthy, because otherwise I'm on the floor and I got to call an ambulance.
Exactly. And that is, and that's sometimes, in life we have these adversities, and adversities lead us to a positive place
It was
or a
such
negative
blessing.
place.
It's how you look at it. Either I can focus on what I can't eat, which is 90% of everything, or I can focus on, oh, look, I can make this. Oh, look, I can make that. Right?
Exactly. And you're very lucky, Kathy, because right now, I mean, there's so many. I mean, I go into restaurants because I don't eat gluten, and I go in and it's like there's gluten free. Wow.
I know. I'm like, what?
Yeah. And there's also restaurants now you can go in. There's always a vegan.
There's always vegan
on the menu.
And
yeah. Where years ago you went into a restaurant and it was meat and potatoes.
Yeah. So no, I think it's just been a wonderful blessing. And now it's kind of funny because everybody at work I'm the only person at work that can't eat gluten. So everything I bring is gluten free. So now I have my coworkers kind of looking out for me, and they're bringing me stuff. Hey, look, Kath, you can eat this, it's gluten free. And they're all happy because they're giving me something, right?
Yeah.
And so
Oh,
now
that's
I have
funny.
them sampling gluten-free cookies and gluten-free things. And they're like, hey, it's not that bad, right?
Some of them are better than the gluten. I mean, they can
Absolutely.
be really tasty, some of
But
them.
you got to think these are big, tough, tattooed, heavy equipment guys, or just, these big egos, these macho dudes. And here they are eating a gluten-free cookie. I think it's the funniest thing ever.
Yeah. That's great. That's great.
Yeah.
So, Dr.
Oh.
Lynn, you definitely provide some really good fundamentals that I think people can follow. I think that you bring serenity out of the chaos for people. And in kind of what I'm picking up is that's huge for our fulfillment and for good health. Do you work with people online? And what do you suggest as people are listening to this interview? Some things they can
Mhm.
get started with.
Yes, I do have, if anyone goes to my website at drlynn.com, it's spelled out Dr. Lynn, one word. I do have a place where people can go for private consultation, and there are classes and books and things like that on there. But, talking about, serenity, I always remind my students and my clients that the world is chaotic and it's never going to stop. There will never be a time when there isn't famine, wars, protests, all of these things. This is life. This is human life. And that's what karma teaches us. You're here to experience all of it. What do you do with it? Can you dance and find your center amongst the chaos? Because
I
you're
like
not
that.
going to change it. And
Yep.
I think oftentimes people get into this mindset of, I want all the chaos to go away. I want to live in utopia. It's never been, and it never will be. That's life.
Yeah. And when
Mhm.
you think about it, human beings actually have to have a certain amount of stress in order to
Mhm.
survive. That's the way we're wired as well.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And innovation comes from there, and creation comes from there. So,
Yeah.
yes, there's a reason why Mother Nature gave us that stress hormone, And yes, we do need to run from those saber-toothed tigers, but we also need to be able to understand that when things are chaotic, and we're so much with the social media today, everything's coming at us in all kinds of directions, and nobody knows what's going on out there. It's really important to say, I got to live in this, and how do I want to live in this? And we'll come
Yeah.
right back to the word of the day, balance.
Yeah. And maybe put away those smart devices like your cell phone
Yes.
and because people take that to bed with them, then they're not getting a good night's sleep. And I found it shocking the percentage of people who don't have a good night's sleep or have sleep apnea. We never heard of that kind of stuff
Mhm.
40, 50 years ago.
That is so true. It's interesting. This morning, I got up and I looked at my cell phone. Now, I keep my cell phone in the kitchen and I keep it on because I have an elderly dad that I'm taking care of, and I could get calls from him anytime or from a nurse or someone. So I keep it on so that I get up and if I would hear it at night if it was, I was in the bedroom, but I never take it to the bedroom. And I thought, gee, I've never taken my cell phone to the bedroom. And people do that. It's
Oh,
not
yeah.
healthy.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
healthy.
We're addicted to our smart devices. Once again, the dopamine rush. I mean, that's why
Mhm.
social media and various sites are so effective. People have to be on there and they got to see what somebody else is doing. And did they get a like and this and that? Immediate gratification.
Mhm.
And then you're sitting, you're not doing anything, you're not doing something that's natural, which is what you're promoting is basically getting back to the basics and being really mindful of it. It's
Mhm.
really
Well,
terrific.
Shelley, you said, immediate gratification, and we are that kind of a society. And that's
Yep.
why I said, people will come to me and say, Dr. Lynn, take out your magic wand, tap me on the head, and everything's cool. It doesn't work that way. Life is
Yep.
it's a long process. It took a long time. It really takes a long time to make yourself unhealthy because the body is a miraculous machine.
Yeah.
It'll keep going no matter how much junk you push into it and how much you push it. So it will go and go and go. It'll keep going, but it equally is going to take you as long to get back to balance.
Sure.
So it's the self-motivation and not looking for immediate gratification.
Where do people reach out to you, Dr. Lynn? I think your insight is just tremendous.
Well, again, they can go to drlynn.com. On there, I also have there's a place where they can sign up for a free newsletter that I send out once a month. And I always have a little health tip or a yoga moment in there for people. And again, there's consultation, there's books, there's classes. Everything is on my website at drlynn.com.
You have a real common sense approach that I think people can grasp. And instead of just doing something for the sake of doing it, you're giving them a reason and really personalizing everything so that they really can make a change in their lives.
Well, I think sometimes if you, and sometimes people will talk down to people, or they will talk in a language they can't understand.
Yeah.
You have to be able to relate to people. And just to kind of give you guys, I was a single mother with two young children, and I was broke and I was on welfare, and I put myself through college. And that was a really, really tough time for me. And after that, I experienced through that stress and burnout. And that was really the beginning of me as a young person finding my naturopathic and building myself back up. And as Hippocrates said, physician, heal thyself. I can't help people unless I really understand and relate to where they're coming from in their life.
Very true. This has been terrific. I could talk to you all day, Dr. Lynn.
Thank you. As you know, I have the gift of gab.
We both
That's
do.
wonderful.
We all do.
We all do. Yep. As
Love it.
I like to say, I used to get in trouble for talking. Now I get paid for it.
Good one.
This is wonderful. Thank you for being on the show, Dr. Lynn.
Well, thank you so much, both of you. It's been very enjoyable for me, and I love talking with really smart, dynamic women. So thank you so much for inviting me.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh my.
You've been a wealth of information. I've learned a lot from you, Dr. Lynn, and I know that serenity is something I need to work on.
Don't sweat the small stuff. It's all small stuff. And just remember this, when you
Don't bet the sweaty stuff.
right, when you depart this world,
Sorry.
you're not taking any of the drama, any of the
Yep,
problems.
that's
You're not
right.
taking any of that with you. You're not taking any of the material. None of that stuff goes with you when you depart. So, enjoy.
Yep. Makes sense, because the world can
Mhm.
really throw a lot of small crap at you that you
Mhm.
what the
Isn't
heck?
that the truth?
Yep. That's the stuff that gets us. It's the small stuff. They say, you can dodge an elephant, but you can't dodge a fly. Right?
That's
So
good.
little
Yeah.
things.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That's a great metaphor. You've given us a lot of food for thought and a way to maybe reset ourselves. Thank you, Dr. Lynn. I appreciate you being on the show.
Well, thank you guys very much. It's been a lot of fun.
We hope you've enjoyed this latest episode. And if you want to hear more episodes of Women Road Warriors or learn more about our show, be sure to check out womenroadwarriors.com. And please follow us on social media. And don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. Thanks for listening.
You've been listening to Women Road Warriors with Shelley Johnson and Kathy Tuccaro. If you want to be a guest on the show or have a topic or feedback, email us at sjohnson@womenroadwarriors.com.